Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Scarlets Fever with me, Lee G. Joining me, as always, is Big M and Catboy. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening. It was so tempting to go meow then.
have you officially changed your name by default?
Not by default, no. I think no, because it's my alter ego, isn't it?
Middle name.
Yeah, I think they're gonna have to start paying you for like personal fees if you appear somewhere. Like you could be Hugh, but then Catboy has appeared. You could have
Yeah.
appearance fee.
You've never seen us in the same room.
Well, you have to check his closet for his spandex. I know I've seen a fit with there.
And a little tail coming out the back. There was a time a few years ago when the kids were in primary school where they did a fancy dress for there was a fancy dress day for Halloween, and all the teachers were in fancy dress, and there was a young teacher who, as it happened, I was friends with outside of school, kind of friends with outside of school, but in a all-in-one skin-tight leotard with a cat's tail and cat ears like that. So she was letting out, like when they're that small, the teacher comes and lets them out. So she's standing at the door, and then there's a set of steps down into the playground, and she's standing at the top of the door, kind of swinging this tail, going, "Go on, kids!" And like all, there was like about 40 dads going like, "Oh, this is why I've got to pick the kids up more often." Oh, I didn't realize this is what teachers did. I don't think she was allowed to dress like that after that. I think it was
You had to put a coat on.
yeah. You're distracting the bus driver. Anyway, how has your week been this week, gents? Anything exciting or interesting to report?
Well, not exactly the most exciting in the world, but it wasn't this week. It was actually today, and a random Monday in January, kids had an inset day. So, as you do, we went to St. Fagans, and I always love going down there. I love going around the galleries and stuff. But just you forget about the history of your own country. And I don't know if I would expect you've probably been a couple of times, Lee. Hill, I don't know if you have been, living, the wrong side of the bridge and all that. But there went some of the stuff they got. Like they've got a chest of drawers from Aberfan, from the school. They got all the details on Capel Caelan, the blue box of the Welsh North. It just drives everything in you. It's just amazing.
Have they still got the really camp school teacher? He's really funny. He's really, really funny because he tells people off. They've got like a school building, and they used to do this bit where you could put your kids in there and it would be like Victorian school and stuff. But he used to do it in this like really, really camp way, and he'd have like his little whippy stick and his cane and all of that kind of stuff. And he's going, "Oh, carry on, I'm gonna beat myself silly." And all the mums and dads going, "You can't say that to a 7-year-old."
No, I don't think they do that anymore. If they did, we didn't see it today. We didn't get everywhere. There was a few buildings closed. What we did do, the blacksmith was in operation today, so we watched him make a candlestick holder. That was really cool to watch.
Cool. That's interesting.
Right. So I'm very we do it best when it comes to things that Britain does compared to other countries. I hate that kind of thing. But the one thing that I will die on the hill of is the UK generally does museums better than anywhere else in the world. Because if you go to like a museum, like if you ever go to Pompeii, they're like, "There's Pompeii's over there," and it's like, okay, what is it? There's no plaques, there's no displays, there's no people dressed as Romans telling you about it. It's like, it's over there. It's hot. Try not to get sunstroke. Like, whereas if it was Britain, there would people be dressed up. There'd be little walking guides. There'd be things like that. So yeah. Anyway, Rugby podcast.
I went to the Natural History Museum.
Oh, you did with the dinosaur?
Yeah, and it is, even as a nearly 50-year-old person.
Nearly 50. Come on.
48 I am.
51 is nearly 50.
Fuck off, the pair of you. I'm 48. And but you still find stuff interesting. You know, you still find out, you still like find new stuff and all of that kind of malarkey. And you're there, and there's like a little 7-year-old kid next to you who go, "Well, oh, this is really cool." And you're going, "I know it is. It's great, isn't it?" You know, you don't get that anywhere else. It's
I appreciate it more now as a grown up. When I was a
Yeah.
kid, I would just like I felt like I was taken there. Whereas now I'm choosing to go on my own volition.
very interesting stuff. Well, okay, so we do museums. Well, so I've got some good news from this week again, from today. So today I had my 6-month checkup after my cancer scare. So I have a 3-month checkup every 3 months, and then every 6 months after I have another different type of checkup for 6-month checkup. So this is my first 6-month checkup, which was the camera. So we had to stick the camera in places where cameras don't belong, to check that everything. But everything is clear, everything is good, and everything is happy and clear and all of that. And you do kind of forget. I went to watch Rod Gilbert on his warm-up tour for his the Great Grapefruit thing. And he talks a lot about his cancer there and surviving cancer. And he says, you know, this is in a small hall with maybe 400 people max. I don't even think it was that. I think it's probably less than 400 people in there. And he says, you know, has anybody, you know, got cancer, survived cancer, going through cancer? And the amount of hands that go up, you know, and I was sitting there, I was going, I'm not putting my hand up. And then you look around the hall and you go, shit, you know, there's a lot of us there. And so yeah, so my message kind of is a positive one of positivity for if anyone's going through it, and if anyone or has been through, or if anybody's fighting that fight right now, then keep going, because you know there are so many people around you that have done it as well, and you can't say just go and ask for help, because it's not the sort of thing you go and ask for help for. But help is there if you want it, and if you need it, and if you're willing to reach out, people will absolutely be there for you. And you know, and I include myself in that, because you know my fight with cancer was very different to everybody else's, and very short-lived, and what have you, thankfully and gratefully, and all of that kind of stuff. But you know, there are so many people out there that are fighting a long, hard fight, and I just wanted to give them a big shout out and say well done, because you know it's hard. It really is hard, but it's so much worth it when you get through to the other side, and you look at life with very bright spectacles once again. So yeah, so I just want to say, yeah, I'm clear again, a cancer clear, 6 months, lovely jubbly, and full respect to everybody else that is fighting the fight at the moment. So yeah, I'm gonna leave that one there. I just wanted to get out there, because you get through it and you go like, oh, you come out the doors and you want to like go, yes, come on, that's 6 months, come on, and like there's all these old fogies walking on Zimmer frames.
Won't be long.
Yeah, ambulances pulling people out of the back and rushing them into A&E, and you're like, okay, maybe I won't shout and cheer quite so much at the minute, like, you know. But yeah, so anyway, let's move on with some rugby stuff. Let's start with some magic numbers from the weekend. If you can bring yourself to that, Hugh, what have you got from the weekend?
So, if people weren't aware, the Rap family is on TikTok, and we have started putting a bit more effort towards that now. And everyone there was at least one person from each podcast, each of the 4 regional podcasts, who uploaded something onto TikTok. Well, I say they uploaded it. I uploaded all of them, but they recorded them. And I couldn't help but put together a little league table. So,
because we've got to win something.
So, turns out Dragons fans aren't on TikTok.
Yeah, I saw that. I think it was just because it was Sunday, mate. It must be.
I don't know. It had all the same hashtags as everything else.
Yeah, and just fell flat, didn't it?
It's done all right on YouTube. I know. Well, yeah. Anyway,
shorts,
so
yeah.
Gav, unlucky mate. Don't know what it is. They don't have TikTok in Newport. Right. So hang on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. In at number 6, was James of the Ospreys pod. He got 228 views for his reaction to their game. In at number 5 was Carwyn from Cardiff Central with 359. And then there's a bit of a jump to his co-podcaster Harley with 653 in 4th place. Then into the podium positions, we have Lee G himself on 677 for his Scarlets reaction. And then yours truly up on 737 in 2nd place for my Scarlets reaction. But out in front,
a country mile
by a mile, for his community rundown. The thing that people skip, the thing that people say is the Welsh Rugby Shipping Forecast, the most watched man on TikTok from the Rat family, Big M with 826.
826.
People love the community. That was only 4 games as well. Imagine if I'd done more. That's 8 clubs, 800 views. Awesome.
Oh my lord. The bit that scares me there is imagine if I did more.
But it's true. Some people don't like that bit. I'm sorry, it's the moneymaker. We're doubling down. And is obviously his podcast with Newcastle London has done incredibly well as well. I think that's blown all of our expectations.
Yeah. Normally when we do the community pods, it's quite a small thing. It's nice to talk to them, and it's nice to try and promote their club and all that kind of stuff. But I think Newcastle Emlyn did a little bit of promotion with it themselves. They kind of tagged in a lot of people that were involved in the club, and the people who were tagged in kind of shared it to other people as well. A couple of people have shared it again today. So it's still going strong, and it shows what a community club can do. A community club can really be a part of that community. And I loved it, Mark. I loved it. I love the fact that you're of all the people that do stuff on YouTube, you're top of YouTube and you're top of our TikTok charts.
But it's the community. What do people want more of? When I was speaking with Guion for Newcastle Emlyn, that club seems to have everything. It really is the centre of the whole village, and they've got the girls hub. Well, that's another one. Wibrod, the girls hub. We will be getting a little interview with them, but we'll do that in a couple of months when the Women's Six Nations kicks off. Just so that's in the pipeline. But no, everything about Newcastle Emlyn was just brilliant, and fact is they've just come back into the Championship West, but they're targeting the Premiership this season already, and they're looking to build their own barn up there. How many clubs, they're still in the early planning stages. How many clubs will come and say, yeah, we want a barn and we want to do as soon as? How many clubs are going to be willing to put that out there?
And when you say it's in the centre of the village, it's not. There's bloody miles away. And if you don't know where you're going, you get lost. Thank you very much. I nearly missed kickoff. The last time I went out there, I had to stop somebody in the street. And because I figured, I did have the directions written down. I didn't have it on sat-nav. I didn't have the postcode. And I was in Newcastle, and I was saying to people, "Do you know where the rugby club is?" And they kind of, "There's a stranger in town."
It's miles away, isn't it? I've looked on Google Maps.
Got to speak in Welsh, but
you got to go out. You got to go back over the bridge and then take a right, and then there's this little bit that goes down.
Hence the big debate of is Newcastle Emlyn in East or West Wales?
I think the pitches
are in Carmarthenshire and the clubhouse is in Ceredigion, isn't it?
I think the pitch is in bloody Powys. It's bloody miles away. It's an absolute nightmare to get to. But anyway,
it's a lovely place, and they do a lovely dinner.
Yeah, they do.
So Newcastle Emlyn kindly offered us some tickets and some burgers, but because we can't go, Mart has kindly agreed to eat mine and Lee's burgers for us.
I was keeping that a secret, man.
Cool. Okay, so while we're discussing the community game, then Mart, why don't you give us a rundown of last week's community fixtures? Quite a few of them got called off, didn't they?
Yeah, well, like you were just talking, get on TikTok, get on YouTube. There's a little bit more detail on some of these games. We'll start in the Premiership as we do, and it was the big one. First against second, Llandyfri at home to Ebbw Vale. First time around down in Ebbw, 25-17, I think the score was to Ebbw. So this is the only loss Llandovery have had all season. And I'll be honest, it must be driving them nuts. But 51st minute, Ebbw Vale scored a try, brought the scores to 17-15 to Llandovery. Not a single score for the rest of the game. 30 minutes of a 2-point deadlock. Now, that must have been intense to watch, but, well done the Drovers. They really have taken the championship winning team from last season and said, we can do one better. And fair play to the boys they have. Our Scarlets boys they had with them, they had, who do they have? They had Jack Davis, I think it was. Yeah, Jack Davis, who started, and they had Cian Abram on the bench. And no game for Quinn, sadly, thanks to North Llanelli.
No one wants to play him because they're too good.
Well, be seen as what Titcombe is now automatically a Scarlet starter, I think they'll be all right. But no game for Quins, courtesy of an odd number of teams in the league. This week, Quins are back in action, but they travel to Newport, so that's going to be a really tough game for them. And Llandovery head up north to RGC. Championship Cup now, and a bit of a weird one, because the quarter-final stages of any cup, and Narberth were awarded a walkover because Dunvan couldn't field the team. Now, obviously massively disappointing for everyone involved, but Dunvan played last weekend perfectly fine, and they've got a game this weekend on the 27th. So if they don't pull out of this one, then I think some serious questions need to be asked. I mean, they might not have won the game, but you just don't do that sort of thing, you know what I mean?
They've said it was down to injuries, front row injuries, I believe it was.
It's normally front rows that cause these things, isn't it?
Yeah, but with the best will in the world and agreeing with what Martyn is saying, it's not just the fact that you play the game; it's the income in the clubhouse, it's the sponsors, it's all of that stuff. But sometimes it happens where you can't field the team. But if you're just shitting out, then yeah, that's not good.
No.
So we'll accept that they were genuine and that they had genuine injuries that have now recovered, ready for next week.
You got to think Llangennech are now the biggest club in Llanelli and the surrounding areas, so they've got a lot more sponsors coming in for them than they had previously. Obviously, financially, it's not a great deal, but having the extra numbers there, it's just disappointing to let anyone down. The other game was called off, Llangennech, on the road to Bargoed, so that's being rearranged this weekend. We go into Championship West now.
Hang on, you didn't do Newcastle and Cribboch.
Championship West now, that was Championship Cast.
Oh, sorry. I'm reading your spreadsheet, man. I'm reading your spreadsheet. You've got them all in one place.
Yeah, I've got my book. I've started rewriting in my book now because I've been sabotaged.
Spreadsheet is yesterday's news, Lee. It's in the book now.
Keep up is in the book. Sorry.
No, no. Since I've been sabotaged a couple of times, I thought it's best to go back.
It's not our fault that you can't work a bloody computer, but anyway, carry on. Newcastle, Emlyn, and Crummock.
First up, Ammanford were at home to Bonamine. That got postponed. I should really say Bonamine, because if anyone's seen the photo Ammanford put up with the scoreboards before the game, it was brilliant to look at. So Newcastle pod, Emlyn pod in the week, building this game up. The biggest game of the season, massive derby. Harry Fuller for Newcastle Emlyn from the Scarlets, Alfie Evans Fetchy and Iestyn Wood. 4 tries apiece. Newcastle Emlyn 27, Crymych 24. I'm speechless. Just following the updates throughout the game and just watching how tight it was, and they kept coming back. And you just did not know how it was going to finish. And then it was a little bit of a lull where you thought, okay, 80 minutes is up, but they haven't forced it. What's going on? So it was really suspenseful. So massive congrats to Newcastle Emlyn on picking that one up. That's really going to help their push for top 5. Scorers for Crymych, Evans, Fetchy, and Iestyn Wood both got over for tries. So good for these Scarlets boys to score as well as playing. Fixtures for this week, I've already mentioned Bargoed Llangennith in the Cup. Plymouth are at home to Ammanford. No game for Newcastle Emlyn because Llangennith in the Cup. And then there's a big one we've been waiting since we knew this league was being formed and who was in it. We've been waiting for Narberth and Brecon to finally clash, and this is the one. I'm just hoping Brecon haven't gone to the wedding. This is the big one. The first Brecon at home against Narberth was called off for the weather. But this league, we thought it was going to be a two-way tussle. Llangennith might have pushed in. They've definitely pushed in now. This is a proper three-way tie, and this game is going to decide how the rest of the league is going to go. Narberth pick this up, they're going all the way. Brecon squeak it out, and it's wide open. Cannot emphasize how important this game in the sense of the league.
And if anyone from Narberth is listening, then I've been messaging Narberth quite a bit through the season. Can we have an interview? Can we have an interview? This is the week to pop up and have an interview, because this is the same as last week where Newcastle and Plymouth. This is the big one this week, and I would love to talk to somebody from Narberth this week about this game and the prep and all that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Normally, I would take on the community stuff, but Lee's not that far away. You were popped on Thursday night training just to chat with you for 10 minutes. If that's what it takes, we'll do it when we leave.
Yeah, actually, I got parents' evening on Thursday. But yeah, other than that.
All right, then less about Lee letting us down. Okay, we go into Division 1 now, and we will start in the Cup. The only team we had left, Llanelli Wanderers against Llandudno, quarterfinals Division 1 Cup. Wanderers 34-15 winners, upper ones, straight through to the next round. I got a feeling they could go all the way here. I really do. They've had such a strong season, and I'm a bit biased because I was involved in the club a little while ago. My boy was with the Sevens. I was coaching for a while, but you gotta love a little fairy tale story. I mean, they were nowhere near it last season, and just to come out of the woodwork and basically dominate this division and hopefully the Cup now. In the actual One West League, Buryport went down 20-25 at home to Gysinan. Felinfol and Whitland went for a tough game, 16-all it finished, so the bottom two sides couldn't be separated. Kidwelly travelled to
Gowerton to decide who was the most shit. They both lost.
I should have asked them what was the try count, but I failed to do that, boys. I'm sorry. We needed a winner. I should have got one.
It can't be more than two each.
Well, no, it could have been like 2 to Whitland, 1 to Felinfol, couldn't it?
Yeah.
You never know. So Kidwelly were on the road to Gowerton, and they went down 47-19. Aberystwyth made a nice long journey to Pontarddulais, and they came out winners 21-15. Hendy were meant to host One Islet, but the game was postponed, unfortunately. On to this week now, and Aberystwyth are at home to Buryport, Kidwelly hosting Felinfol, Wanderers hosting Pontarddulais, and Whitland are hosting Hendy. We go into Division 2 West now. As I said, probably a month or so ago now, we got no teams in the Division 2 Cup, so just league action. Am United was postponed at home to Loughor. Carmarthen Athletic 11, Mumbles 23. Guttingfield Athletic been doing pretty well, and this is probably a big shock result by Fishguard 10, Tenby 5.
Yeah, I mean that is huge for Fishguard. Fishguard started the season really, really well, and then they kind of slumped. And 10-5 sounds like an absolute slugfest, doesn't it?
It wasn't nice.
The weather's been terrible, haven't it?
And I've said to you before about the way Fishguard pitch is. So the Fishguard Bay, if anyone's been on the ferry out of Fishguard, you get to the roundabout and you turn right and you go into the ferry there. Well, if you turn left, then the pitch, you're literally at the back of the pitch, and the pitch runs at right angles to the sea. Yeah, so all the wind comes in, and you can get some right howlers down there. So yeah, but then you turn around at halftime and everybody plays with the wind, sort of a thing. But it just sounds like an absolute hammer and tongs sort of a game because, yeah, there's a lot of not bad feeling, but there's a lot of competition between those two clubs where players do move in between them and what have you. And yeah, it's good to see Fishguard coming out on top. As much as I like Tenby and my connections with Tenby and all of that kind of stuff, it's good to see Fishguard coming out on top because they are a good club, good club.
This is really big for Tenby. I mean, we go back a month ago and I think they were still undefeated, and they've picked up 2 losses in the league and a loss in the cup, which, let's be honest, none of us expected. So, you know, we thought Tenby wouldn't run away with it, and it's opening up the league a lot now. So all the more for competition, I say. Next game, we had Lampeter edging out 1916 at home to Croyce. No, Lampeter are no slouches either. I think they're second in the table. So for Croyce to come out battling like that, massive effort from them. Another win for Milford, 27-12 at home to Pontyberem. Milford, another side who have been managing to pick up some big scalps. You know, they get some consistency, and you know, quite frankly, they could be up there. I've no doubt of that in my mind.
Well, Milford have gone from scraping the win and, you know, winning on the last kick and then winning by 3 points and then winning by 5 points to actually starting to put some decent scores together. So yeah, fair play. Loving where they are. So just to give you a quick idea, Tenby are now 4th in the table. Milford are 6th in the table. Fishguard are 7th in the table. Top of the table is St Clair's. So
yeah, and that's who we come on to next. They travelled to Nancaredig and they picked up an 18-12 win. On to game for this week's, and it's a big one to start off. 2nd place Lampeter travelled to 3rd place Lacher. And as we all know, no one likes Lacher.
No one likes Lacher.
Even if we go on the Ospreys pod or wherever and we pretend to like them for 5 minutes or whatever, you know, as we slowly stab ourselves to death as we're doing it, no one likes Lacher. Anyway. Next game up, we've got Nancaredig on the road to Mumbles. Pontyberem host Armagh United. You know, Pontyberem had a really good season. Armagh United just haven't turned up for whatever reason. So I'm expecting Pontyberem to notch another win on their belt and just keep progressing. St Clair's at home to Milford. Now, I'm going to say keep an eye out for this one because, like we've just said, Milford have picked up a few scalps and their wins are, the margin of their wins are slowly increasing. So who really knows what can happen in this game? Tenby get a chance to bounce back at home to Carmarthen Athletic, and Croyce are at home to Fishguard. Can Fishguard back up their win over Tenby? It's a big one. Down in Division 3, and we'll start with the Cup again. 2 weeks on the bounce. Larne have won in the Cup, 42-17, big win over Baglan, and they are now into the quarterfinals. A lot more teams in Division 3, so they had an extra round to play. Into 3 West A now. Halford West winning 11-6 against Cardigan. Llanybydr 42-12 winners at home to Langam. And lucky Langam, we love you. Pembroke going down 5-34 at home to Aberaeron. And St David's picking up a good 20-7 win at home to Neyland. So some good performances and a tidy result for St David's today. They're really kicking on this season.
And so, again, the weird thing in this league, yeah. So Aberaeron are top, so played 13 games, lost 2. Larne are 4th, who have lost 1 game, but played 7. I mean,
balloons.
What was that? Where did that come from, Mark? Do that again. Well, we got you with his thumbs like that. Yeah, you were doing this stuff, but yeah, balloons.
Well, what's happened? I can't see it.
There's balloons. There's balloons on
your
screen.
I wonder if that'll come out on YouTube. Oh, I'm going to have to watch back now. Yeah, we're going to have to see what other effects we can get.
I think that's my late celebration for being top of TikTok and YouTube and everything else.
Yeah, we've got to work out what makes it. Anyway, carry on.
Okay, fixtures for this week in 3 West A. Aberaeron at home to Llanybydr, Cardigan at home to Larne, Halford West travel to Langam, Pembroke on the road to Neyland, and Pembroke Dock Quins are hosting St David's. We go into 3 West B now. A couple postponements. Kev Nathan at home to Binia and Furness at home to Llandibby. The few results we did have: Betos 29, New Dock 5. Sorry, Hugh. I think you've really... I don't think you're a good luck charm anymore, you know.
You jinxed them, man. Since you've
I
been
know.
Catboy, they've been on a real nosedive.
I know. I don't think they've picked up a win since using that boy. It's been terrible. We have to find a new name for him. We had Llandilo. Llandilo winning 14-7 at home to Trimsaran, and Tumble continuing the fight 24-21 away to Llangadog. Fixtures for this week, we got Binyar at home to Furness, Llandiri hosting Llandilo, New Docker at home to Tregaron. If they lose this one, Catboy must go. There is no way New Dock should be losing at home to Tregaron. No
The
disrespect
New Dock
to
Stars
Tregaron.
fans are going to be in the stands with hashtag Catboy out.
Catboy out.
Or kill Catboy, one of the two. That's a bit fun. Next game up, we got Trimsaran at home to Llangadog. And the big one in this league, first take on second, Tumble at home to Betos. Now, like we've said, all these leagues, we're coming into the real crunch end of it. And all games are spaced out. All the rearranged fixtures are going to be coming through the Six Nations. So 6-7 weeks' time, these leagues will be more or less sorted. And right now, every game matters so much. So over into Division 5 Cup, Pennebank were our last team in Division 5 Cup. Admittedly, we only had 3 to start. But they are now out, going down 28-9 away to Cumturch. The only game we had in 5 West Central was Pont Yates travelling to Banwen, and that was postponed. Fixtures for this week, we got Pont Yates at home to Fall Bay. I have got Pennebank at home to Seven Sisters, but I'm thinking Seven Sisters may have a cup game to play because I think they was postponed. So Pennebank fans, if you're listening, double check with that one because I'm not 100%. And that brings the end of the community game for this week.
Cool.
Woo.
Fantastic.
What
Okay.
was that,
I'm celebrating how good the community bit was.
Just do that and see what happens, because it's really weird that because you two both got iPhones, haven't you?
No,
Yeah.
I'm on my laptop now.
You're on your laptop, so that's why it's not so. Do that, Matt, and see. No, it's
No.
not happening.
Ah,
Oh, there,
yes!
there is. There's the thumbs up. Okay, yeah, so we can get a thumb. What the
What was
hell
that?
is that, man?
It's fireworks!
How on earth did you do that? This is more exciting than the rugby,
Magic.
I'll be honest. Mark, your phone is an absolute revelation, mate.
How did he do that?
I have no idea, but I'm a little bit jealous, I'll be honest.
He's done it again.
That is awesome.
Ah.
I'm looking at it now. I'm loving
Yeah.
it. I'm doing that every week.
Do that or something. Just see what happens when you do that. No, you just look at a knob. Yeah, okay.
Anyway,
Should we talk about the under-18s from last week as well?
yeah, because I watched this because this was on S4C.
Whoa. We
What?
didn't say if we're talking under 18s boys or girls first. Come on.
Okay, we're going to do under-18s boys that were on
Boys,
telly.
sorry.
Yeah,
Boys are on telly.
because yeah, I didn't realize how much I spoke about him, but even when I just said on the rap pod, and somebody said, did you see the game last week on
T and Sparrow?
And someone said Lee's going to mention T and Sparrow any minute now. So, and he was man of the match. I thought he was outstanding again. So
I thought the Scarlets 13 was very good. He made a few very good breaks.
But the speed of ruck ball, I mean,
It was a
was
very silly game.
No, I thought it was good. I thought it was enjoyable.
What did it finish in the end? 46, 47, something like that?
44-40.
Yeah.
And that 13 that you were so proud of is Griff Watkins. He's up with Llandovery College.
That is a centre's name, but he was born to be a centre.
He's from over the border. It's like Heathfield and Waldron RFC is where he's from.
That's the one I was thinking of last week. Yeah. Cool. But it was a really, really good game to watch in terms of
nasty injury. Who was it went off injured? Got stretched it off.
I didn't see that.
Placement tight head, I think it was.
Yes. Yes, in Cook. It was. Yeah, he played in the 18s last year as well, so here you might remember him. But no, he didn't get much chance to showcase what he's about. So speedy recovery. Hopefully it's just a little knock in the game and he's back on his feet already.
It was I I think I watched. When was it? Oh, it was. I'll tell you what it was. When the boy was playing in the Welsh squad against the Scottish squad for under-18s last year or year before, whenever it was. And so Scotland come down, fair old hike down, and their prop literally off the kickoff, first ruck off the kickoff. Somebody goes over on his ankle and he's off to hospital. You just think, coming all that way, and like his parents are there because everyone's parents are there because you're playing in your country shirt and stuff. Literally, he lasted 3 minutes and then he was in hospital, and you're like, you really got to feel for the guy. But yeah,
I mean, mine's not that bad. My final year of year three went on tour out to Holland, and about 25 minutes in, I peeled off the back of a mall, brushed the first tackler off, but he was still holding my ankle. Second one came over and snapped my ankle. So, and I didn't have my European health card, being a stupid 18-year-old, so I was walking around with a broken ankle for 2 days.
Ooh, I bet you were popular.
Elephant foot, they called me.
Yeah.
Literally ballooned it 3 or 4 times.
I think if you're hurt, they will treat you. They won't turn you away.
No, you just got to pay for it, haven't you?
Yeah,
You got to pay for it, but then you can. Yeah.
A friend of mine who shall remain nameless, when we were on a school trip in Germany once, one of the earbuds from his earphones went too deep inside his ear. He had to go to hospital and they had to fish it out. The embarrassing thing was, like, tried to get it out, like in the dorms or whatever. Couldn't get it out. Went to hospital. They had a special thing, and they got it out in like 10 seconds. And they were like,
"But hang on, surely it was wired headphones. Surely earpods were invented at that point."
Well, they were the ones
he's that young.
No, they were the ones with the little rubber thing on the end, and the rubber thing comes off.
Oh, I got you.
And it got right in there. Anyway,
when we went on tour to Amsterdam, we were all over 18, but we were drinking in the bar of the place that we were staying. And one of the boys has had far too much. I think he'd been smoking some of the stuff that we bought in the day. And we literally drank the place dry. There was 30 of us there, plus a couple of teachers and stuff. We drank the place dry, and we were, all right, we're off into town. And he was asleep. So we'd rested him on a beer can on the table, and he was asleep like that. And we went, so we left a note for him, and we said, we're going to this bar in town, and we buggered off. And we came back about 1 o'clock in the morning, and they'd literally cleaned around him, and he was still there. He was still asleep on this bloody empty beer can, and the tables, like all the chairs were up on the tables, and all the lights were off, bar the one spotlight that was lighting him and all that kind of stuff. It was like, yeah, that was a good one. That was.
That's the brilliance of club tours. Memories you will never forget.
Most of them you can't talk about on a podcast, to be fair.
A little bit.
But so 18's good then.
Yeah. We'll get back into 18s now. Obviously a lot of tries, 44-40. Try scorers, we had Sean Jones, Gabriel Casey, captain of Netherlands under 18s, just coincidentally while we're talking. Dom Kossuth, Tian Sparrow, Keanu Evans, and a penalty try. Games for this week, 2 games this week. This Wednesday, I think it's on Rugby Pub, Esbjerg again. At Parker Scarlets, we're playing the Dragons, 7:30 kickoff. And on Sunday, we're hosting RGC. Same again, Parker Scarlets, 2:30 kickoff. And now we talk about, is it girls 18s or is it women's 18s?
No, Sunday's game is on the training pitch.
On the training pitch?
Yeah, Wednesday's game is on the main pitch. Sunday's game is on the training pitch.
It's a bit dodgy. They not like RGC that much.
They've done it a couple of times, but yeah, the RGC game is on the training pitch on Sunday. So
fair enough. So, like I was just saying, is it girls 18s or is it women's 18s?
Do you call under 18s boys or men's?
Boys.
I would say logic extends that it should be girls.
Girls.
Although 3 blokes on this pod, if someone wants to tell us we're wrong, feel free.
By all means do. Yeah.
Yeah. If we're wrong, tell us. So the girls 18s picked up their first win of the campaign so far, 65-0 against RGCD. It was down at Cap at Yams Park, 10 tries, and just blew them away. This is biggest loss that RGCD have had so far. You know, of our girls 18s, they had two losses, but it was encouraging performances, and to come out in this one, looks like they've hit this stride proper. So 10 tries all in. You had Kiara Taylor with a hat-trick, Kellen Morgan and Fionn Davis both got doubles. Priya Lilly, Martha Hallam and Lorna Harding-Jones all got on the scoreboard. Their game is on Sunday. Unfortunately, it clashes with the boys. They are playing Cardiff, 12 o'clock kickoff, but it's at Ysgol Cwm Brombil, which is in Port Talbot. So this is the Ospreys designated game, and it's in a school that I am not familiar with. Yuli?
It's right on the side. If it's the one I'm thinking of, it's right on the side of the M4. It's it's in like a housing estate. It's a 4G pitch, but it's in the middle of this housing estate, and you get to the back of this housing estate, and then there's a massive school there that's quite new, and then there's literally at the far end there's a bank, and then there's the M4. Yeah, it's nice enough. It's nice if that's the one that I'm thinking of, but yeah, may say it was a good win for the girl. Just to get that kind of win under your belt gives you a lot of confidence, So yeah, fair play.
Well, I'm looking at it now and I'm thinking they had 10 tries, so with conversions they could have had 70, and they picked up 65. So they've taken a penalty somewhere in amongst all that. And I'm hoping it came first.
I think maybe the scorer was like, yeah, we got the gist. These have won, you know.
So no, that wraps it up for the Rag. Obviously, we had the Wales squad announcement last week. Our 8 boys are in. Happy days. The under-20s have come out this week, and we've got 7 boys in with them. We got our loosehead prop, Josh Morse, hooker Harry Thomas. Keep an eye out for him. He's a big talent. A boy we've already seen in Scarlet colours, Glenelg Wanderers' very own back rower, Luca Giannini. Another back row in Will Plessy. Scrum half, Lucas Itaro, and 2 centres in Max Page and Gabriel McDonald. And, you know, well done to all them boys. I'm expecting to see quite a bit of Thomas and Giannini, especially. I'm not 100% sure if we're going to see much of Page and McDonald. They're both first year, you know, under 20s, and they've got, you know, Ackerman and what's the other name? Hennessy in the squad as well.
Yeah.
So I don't
Hennessy's
think
12. Hennessy
No,
must be
he's in the
12.
squad.
He's in.
Is
He's
he?
in the squad. Yeah.
From Bath?
Yeah.
Jeez.
They do it from January 1st, don't they, instead of September.
So it must be a young one. Bloody hell. Yeah, if Hennessy's in, I mean he's played a couple of first team games.
Yeah, he scored a try for Bath in I think it must have been a Prem game.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
And he's a big lump of a lad anyway. So
yeah. Yeah, no, he played well in the championship. Just gone. Of course, Morgan Morse is still in.
yeah, he's come in as well. Yeah. Cool. Okay. Righty ho. Well, let us progress on. Because I had complaints last week. I genuinely had complaints because people wanted to hear my grump. So you two have both gone, oh, we didn't hear you grump last week. And then I've had complaints from other friends of mine that listen to the pod saying, why didn't we hear you grump? And I'm like, it's not that big. Do you know what I mean? I think we're building this up to be something bigger than it actually is. Yeah. So what are you trying to do now?
Showing off my book. No one wants to hear you talk. They can watch my book.
It's leather bound.
Nice leather back. Lovely
so my
spine.
grump this week is when my fellow podcast presenters try to steal my thunder when I'm saying something and they show off their book, and he'll be doing this next, and he'll be trying to set off his fireworks. He'll be going, "Hey, look at me! Look at my fireworks!" Oh God, on.
Yes.
I think that kind of leads in nicely, actually, to my grump, because my grump this week is around the level of negativity that Welsh rugby thrives in. You know, well, it doesn't thrive. It rolls around in this mud pit of negativity. And the minute you try and counteract that with something positive, or let's have a look at, in fact, don't worry about that. Let's focus on some of the good stuff. The minute you try and do that, people are really, really happy to shoot you down. And I'm just going to say to those people that have got no life, and sit there and just moan and complain at people. It's usually on social media and it's usually on Twitter. But to you people that sit there and just moan and complain, fuck off and get a life. Because honest to God, some people are there and, yeah, okay, just because they want to, they're always going to support the Scarlets, and you hear people going, don't worry about the result, boys. It was, I'm proud of you and all of that kind of stuff. Yeah. And I get that, okay, that might not be your thing. Don't go slagging those people off. Don't go having a go at those people and telling them that they're wrong to be positive about, the future. Don't tell them they're wrong to try and, help some of the players with dealing with loss and all that kind of stuff. At worst, just sit there and say, fuck all. Go and disappear. Go and watch paint dry. But you'd be better off doing that than sitting there and moaning at people who are trying to do something positive, So my moan this week is about people that moan in an ironic way. But I'm just saying, if somebody is trying to be positive about the game, let them be positive. It doesn't make a jot of difference to your life if somebody else thinks different to you. But the minute you start having a go at people who are positive and are trying to do something helpful, you look a cock. It's as simple as that. You make yourself look a cock. And I've seen people do it who, people that I know. People, and I've seen comments, and then I'll kind of put a little question mark under it, and then the next day it's gone. So, I know that bit after the game is really raw and really, it really gets to you. And I get, the next morning is probably the time to ask for your reactions and all of this kind of stuff. But just have a word with yourself and have a word over the head, because, nobody should be trying to make other people feel bad because they want to feel positive about stuff. So that's my grump this week. Stop being miserable bastards. Leave it to me. I'll be miserable for the lot of you. Just leave it to me. I'll do that.
Yeah, you cut me off. I was going to stop being late.
Right. I hope everybody's happy that I've started doing my grump now. I know there's some people have been eagerly awaiting my grump. So there we go. We've done the grump. So before we move on to listeners' questions, and then we'll have a chat about the game and all that kind of stuff, we forgot to have a chat about the Thunder last week. So Hugh, take us through the Thunder, how the season's gone so far, and last week's results.
Okay, so it's a week ago now, so I'm testing my memory, but Thunder played their first home game against Edinburgh, and as Big M will attest, Edinburgh are very good. Yeah. They didn't win this one. It was by far the best performance they put in. I thought you can see, like, you watch a Thunder game and you think, oh, they weren't that good at that, and then next week they play and that's fixed, but then there's something else, and then that was fixed. So this was our by far our best attacking game, particularly the centres. Absolutely, we're running through them at times, and like I say, Edinburgh are one of the better teams in it, and it was very impressive. We're leading for large parts of the game. Edinburgh got a try in the corner towards the end of the match, and that was kind of it. In the second half, I don't know whether it's, maybe replacements. Our bench was a little bit weaker or run out of gas a little bit. We started getting pinged off the park, and then Edinburgh made that count. But definitely for a good 40, 50 minutes of that game, definitely Thunder were the better side. Like I said, best performance they've put in yet. And it was great to see a fair number of people down at the park watching it as well. I think it was 700 people turned up to watch it, which is brilliant. I think that's probably more people than turned up for any of the home Welsh games so far. So, yeah, I'm enjoying watching the Thunder. I'm emotionally invested. So thanks, Thunder. Another thing to be stressed out about at the weekend. But yeah, and I can't wait to see some of these players in the Six Nations coming up. And okay, the results aren't there, but this tournament isn't necessarily about results. It's a development tournament, and so it's just kind of about watching the team and enjoying them playing and getting to know the players. Thunder, if anybody from Thunder is listening, we'd love to have someone on and talk to you. So drop us a message, drop us a tweet, and we'll have you on in an instant. So yeah, sorry that we didn't mention you last week, but we're still right behind you, and we're enjoying watching you play.
Yeah.
So
when is the next game?
Is it this weekend?
Yeah, it is this weekend. All the games are on Saturday this weekend. So there's a 1:30 kickoff, a 2:00 kickoff, and Britain are on at 7:30. They're out in Ireland against the undefeated league leaders, Wolfhounds. So obviously, like you said, it's a development tournament. We've seen this team get better game on game. The centres you mentioned, one of them, Ellie Trollman's Newcastle Emlyn girl. Guion was happy to point that out on the Newcastle Emlyn pod. Another plug for that. Just wanted to mention that. But no, and the last regular season game before we go into some form of playoff that makes no sense to anyone. We are away to Glasgow, and we currently occupy the bottom 2 spots. So
we're going to get one home game.
Yeah, the home game, the other home game was at the Dragons,
which is a natural. Yeah, that's where our home games are.
But I thought we were supposed to play games in RGC.
There is one up there. That's the Glasgow game.
Okay.
Let's just be grateful that they've started. Let's just be grateful that they're up and running, and it can only improve. It can only get better. The shirt design needs to improve, because I want something that you can go, I want to buy that shirt. Do you know what I mean?
I want to buy it anyway.
Yeah, but I want a proper thing that we can buy.
Like, obviously, I can comment on it. Lee, I don't think as much. I don't think your daughter is into rugby at all. Yeah. But I've got 2 young daughters, 7 and 6. They love rugby more than my boy. My boy is 10. He's played since he was 6 years old. He's been in training since he was 4. But he's a stick twig. He's not the best. You had a choice. You got to pick a team sport, rugby or football. You always pick rugby, so I'm happy for that. But my 2 girls, they love it to pieces. And, there's some of the girls that are playing, they're from their hub. They know, because obviously a lot of these girls are still 18, just turning 19. And if you go to any of these hubs, under 6 all the way to under 18, all the girls know each other.
Yeah.
So when you tell them so-and-so is actually going to be on TV, you get to watch them, they're asking, oh, can we go? And then when they see them, like, oh, can I get that shirt? They want it. And that's something that is obviously a massive positive for this league and to go forward. And they've got to get this stuff on general sale. Because, honest to God, what it does for the young girls, especially in Wales, obviously I can't comment on what it's like in Ireland and Scotland, but for the young girls in Wales, seeing girls that they admire from their own club on the TV is absolutely massive.
Okay, so what you can do for that, Mark, is give it one of them. Go on, give it one of them. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it works.
You found one.
And now do that.
I got to get them both on.
Yeah, in there.
Oh my God. This is brilliant.
I just Googled it. Right. We're going to have some fun with this in future, boys. I'm going to have
audio listeners.
Get back on the iPhone now.
Audio listeners, you're going to have to check out the YouTube this week.
Yeah,
honestly.
This is awesome.
It's a visual show.
Yeah.
Literally.
We're evolving into into how many stupid things can we get Martyn's phone to do? Because if you do that, you must be able to do that as well. Does that come up with a yes? There we go.
Blurred, but it's there.
What is it?
Yeah, it's cool.
Anyway.
Oh, so what happens when you do 2? So one of them gives it to 2 of them.
Oh, it's raining.
Oh, it's raining.
This all night. I mean, if you're listening to this in the car, this is crap. But watching this on YouTube, I'm hoping those videos come through, those video effects, because I can guarantee anyone on an iPhone now is going to go, "Does mine do that? What else can I do?" Right. Okay. Let's move on to listeners' questions. So, Hugh, we had one listener's question this week, which there was actually 4 or 5 bits to it. But who's staying? Who's going? Who needs to go?
I know you're
And
stealing our future episode ideas.
and who's this Australian second row? So,
Well,
anyone
I haven't heard about that.
an Australian second row?
I haven't
No?
heard that.
I haven't heard. I've heard lots of second rows. I've heard David Jenkins. I've heard Johnny Green. Well, I've heard Johnny Green for a couple of years now, but I haven't heard no Australian.
Maybe
Jake Ball
Ball's
coming back.
But
There
would they
you go.
still
That's
be
a
saying he's
definite-
Australian?
Yeah, well, he played for anyone that did our Christmas quiz will know
Yeah.
that he played cricket for Australia under 19s. So before he came over, so yeah,
We're never getting Daft Jenkins, by the way.
No.
Just
yeah,
what a
just
load of
on-
rubbish that is.
well, I don't know. We are gonna, we will do a pod on who we think is gonna go,
Yeah.
and then some of those boys that we think are gonna go on big money that will free up space.
So what was the rest of the question? So who's staying, who's going? We're going to do
who's
pod on
going,
that. So
yeah,
stay
who's
tuned.
going, who's staying, who needs to go, and who's this Aussie second row?
I don't know who the Aussie second row is. Who needs to go? The ones who are on big money but aren't playing. Yeah.
Foxy played last weekend.
I don't want to talk about it. It makes me sad.
Yeah, but
we need to ask the question: why was he playing? Because we didn't have Johnny Williams for the ban, and we didn't have a 20. I want to double check his age.
21.
And we didn't have a 21-year-old who was out injured because he would have been selected in front of him. That's the state of affairs.
So if you get rid of Jonathan Davis, then let's
we'll need to again. We'll do a pod on this, but we need, I reckon, we need to sign 2 specialist centres and a third who can play centre.
But that's that's in dream world, I think, at the minute, and it depends on Johnny Williams. Is he staying? Is he going?
Well, I'm kind of yeah. I suspect he might be going, but I don't know. That's just Hugh reckons. That's not based on anything.
Well, I was really interested when when someone mentioned that Johnny Williams' contract was up, and his last game was, I think, in the warm-ups before the World Cup.
He played against Portugal.
I played against Portugal. So I think whenever it was, it would mean that in 3 years' time, because he was born in England, if he doesn't play another game for Wales, he would have a full year to play for England before the next Rugby World Cup. So even if he left and he'd be, trapped by this 25 cap rule, he's still not excluded from international rugby because he could go on to play for England.
I don't know. I think he needs to find a team that will play to his strengths. And I think the Scarlets are moving away from his style of play. Do you know what I mean? We're more in the Scott Williams in his prime kind of style of play.
We're more in the Dan Carter in his pomp, and more in the kind of Jonah Lomu, when he was at his best kind of style of play,
But then, Eddie James is a fairly big, strong runner, isn't he? So if Eddie James is, I think Eddie fits into the format a bit better, the attacking format. I don't know why, because he's a similar type of player.
There's literally 1 inch between them. Obviously, the builds are slightly different. Eddie is more slender, where Johnny is quite broad. But other than that, their stats match up more or less perfectly.
Well, to oversimplify it massively, I feel like, and we've barely seen Eddie, but I feel like Eddie is more of a I will do this so the team can do this player, whereas Johnny is more of a the team can do this so I can do this player. He is like a individual X factor over team system thing. That's my own personal opinion.
Okay. So, yeah, to answer your question, we don't know. So listeners' questions, ultimately, it's all up in the air. There's so much stuff going on behind in the background that we don't know about. We're never going to know about. And yeah, it's fun to speculate, but let's not forget that while we're speculating, there are players that are going through it. That there'll be some players that want to stay at the club and might not have a contract, and there'll be players that don't want to be here, that kind of maybe looking to move on and all of that kind of stuff. And so, yeah, there's so much stuff that goes on behind the background that we just don't know about. But hey ho, there we go. That is the way professional sport is. So, yeah. So I've worked out how to do balloons as well. So do that for me, Mark. And you should have balloons. There they are.
Yay!
Now do two.
Jesus.
Now do two. And we got confetti. Yeah. iPhone lessons with Lee. What?
Anything?
No, I don't think that's going to do anything for you.
I'll let you crack
Again,
on with it.
yeah, another one. If I'd be shocked if that turned up with anything. Again,
Hmm.
another YouTube moment for our listeners.
Maybe you
Apologies.
tilt your head back and pretend to pour salt on your tongue.
Let's move on, shall we? Let's go and talk about the game on Friday night. Let's talk about the Edinburgh game, because for all the grump and misery, and we didn't score any points. We ended with the first Welsh team to never score any points in Europe, and blah 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 blah. I still felt they were green shoots.
100%.
If you want to look at it, when you're watering your garden, if you plant something and it's starting to grow, you look after it, you nurture it, you feed it, you don't stamp on it to see if it's strong enough when it's a little baby.
I think what people have got to bear in mind is you can't relate the last 3 or 4 games to what came before it, because they have gone back to the drawing board, and it is a different strategy, a different approach. And yeah, so it's like, and we're changing style of play halfway through a season is always going to be even harder than it would have been starting at the beginning of the season. And we talked last week about how it's a big shame that the first half of the season was essentially wasted, and it's that many games and that amount of time out the window. But that's where we are now. And exactly like Lee said, I mean, you can look at the scoreboard and things. We've been saying on this pod all season, it's about performances before results for us, because we've got a brand new team, brand new coaching setup. The average age of the squad has dropped, etc., etc. So look at the game. Look at what actually happened. So Edinburgh scored, like Edinburgh's first 3 tries that they scored against us. One was we messed up our own throw on our own 5-meter. They caught it. They drove over and scored. Second one, we got pinged 3 lineouts in a row. Whatever we were doing at the lineout, the referee didn't like. And they got down to a 5-meter and again drove over and scored. And then the third one, Ben Healy, Scottish international fly half, puts a bomb up in the F and free kick. I don't want to call it a hit and hope, because that doesn't do it the same justice, because it was like they've identified something there, but they've stuck it up in the air. Buffelli, international world-class fullback, gets up in the air above Steph Evans and offloads it to Duan van der Merwe, international world-class winger, and he walks over. And that was their first 3 tries, and then I think the 4th try was again close range from a line out after penalties as well. So those 3 or 4 tries, they're as close as you can come in rugby to own tries, essentially. Now that's obviously not good, but it tells you it's fixable. I mean, like the stat for you is all that talent that I've just reeled off that Edinburgh got in their team, 5th in the URC, 2 line breaks against us. We had more line breaks than them. Like, they didn't create anything.
Can we just say Tommy Lewis had the same amount of line breaks as the entire Edinburgh squad? And we'll talk more about him in a little bit.
Yeah.
So we'll come to Tommy Lewis in a bit. I want to talk about the try for the kick and why that annoys me more than the other stuff. Because the other stuff is technicality and technique. Like some of those lineouts, like those penalties from a lineout. You know, we gave away 3 penalties in a row. One of them, we sacked the line, and the referee went, "No penalty, you were too slow." And you're like, no, we were, because it was static.
It weren't that. It was one of the lifters got sacked as well, which was the problem. That's what that penalty was. Because I was looking at it, because I couldn't figure it out in my head. What was the problem?
Yeah, from what she said, that we didn't sack the line in time. Well, we sacked the line before it started moving, so that's perfectly legal. So, you know, anyway, there are bits in there that, in all honesty, our line out has improved. Our scrummaging has improved. I think I said this last week and a couple of times before. I don't know why, but our close-in, tight defence, our defence around rucks, and our line-out defence is our Achilles heel at the minute. I'm willing to bet if you look at how many tries we've conceded around lineouts and, you know, driving around rucks, I'm willing to bet that that's where the majority of our tries are conceded. So we can sort that, and that's why the kick one annoys me, because there's no way on God's earth that should have been a try. No way. You've got 3 boys in your back line, yeah? If one of you was going up to take a kick, the other one drops back. We had Steph Evans and Johan Nicholas both competing for that ball, both missed that ball, so when somebody runs through, there's nobody there. At least one of them should have been in the backfield, and you had 6 forwards standing there going, "Oh, look, he's kicked the ball. Has a good kick there." Got a round of applause for the opposition for kicking the ball so high. And do you know what I mean? Nobody was switched on. Nobody was shouting. Nobody was right, you know, back 2 lines. Who's up front? Who's behind? You know, nobody was stopping the runner. Nobody was running a block line to stop that runner from getting to the bloody ball. And this is basic stuff that you teach a bloody youth team.
That was, straight after we scored as well.
Yeah.
And it just killed it. And by the way, our first try was great.
I thought most of our tries were good.
Yeah, they were multi-phase from far out, working our way to their line. We milked a yellow card out of them for the first one, and then we finished off. Okay, maybe we made a bit more of a meal of it than we needed to, but we still got there. We should have scored 4 or 5 tries in this game. Yeah.
Well, you look at that. You look at our ball retention. So that first try, now 3 or 4 games ago, we would have lost that ball. We would have panicked after the 2nd or 3rd ruck. And I think we went 7 or 8 rucks right on their line, you know, and they weren't driving close. They were one pass, one pass ruck, one pass ruck, one pass ruck. And we went right from inside their 15 to under the posts, and then the ball got moved out because then there was space. And I thought that was really, you know, what we've been missing, that composure, that calmness of going, right, okay, we're going to do this, then we're going to do this.
Yeah.
And instead of this constant panic ball of, you know, pick and drive, pick and drive, pick and drive, pick and knock on, pick and get turned over, you know. So, and we did that quite a bit. You know, I know we didn't necessarily capitalize on what we did up until the last 20, but we were looking to play the ball off the centres. We were looking to move the ball through the back 3.
There was deception in the back line for which we didn't have for the first half of the season. We've now got deception in the back line, and there's some really nice stuff. And to be fair to Jonathan Davis, he was doing some nice passing as well, some pop passing and bringing big carries in, and you know, not himself getting over the game line, but getting others over the game line.
Right. When we talk about our backline, I think we could all see what we were doing, and this will come back to early in the season when we talked about Johan Lloyd and his lack of a kicking game. you could see we've set up forwards in pods of 3, and we've got our man in behind. And because Johan Lloyd doesn't kick, when we were going in behind, Edinburgh peeling around the side, and he was cutting us dead. And that was a big problem for majority of the game. As soon as we brought Titcombe on, and he put up that bomb, every time the ball went in behind, that Edinburgh defender wasn't quite as far forward as he was in the first half. And that's what started to create the space. So, if we had Titcombe on from the start, or Johan Lloyd was willing to put a few bombs in, a few little chips over Gary Owens, crossfield kicks, we've had a lot more give from running with the ball in the first half.
Yeah, so exactly that. So, it's not new us talking about Scarlets kicking on this pod. So the top Scarlets kicker in this game was Johan Lloyd with three kicks. Gareth Davis and Kieran Hardy had 2 each, and Titcombe had 2 when he came on. So we're still. So what we say about ball retention, yes, we are very good at ball retention. But if I give you couple of these stats, so in the URC, the most efficient, if you like, team with their carrying is the Bulls. So they have 21 carries per try. It's way less than everybody else. It's remarkable. And then you got a gaggle of teams on between 30 and 40 carries per try. Scarlets at the moment, 51 carries per try. That's we're making ourselves work too hard for our scores by not kicking enough.
But then go back to what we were saying about performance, and we're building towards something.
We are.
Yeah.
So
and that's the bit that I think we need to keep in mind, that yes, that's a good stat to compare where we are. Yeah. If you look at where I'm willing to bet when we get to the end of the season, you do a comparison and you use the Ospreys game, as the cutoff. That's the first half of the season. That's the second half of the season. The difference between the two, how many carries per try in the second half of the season will be significantly lower.
You can see exactly to that point, Lee. You can see that we were really in this game really focused on the shape and making the shape work, and there were other bits of the game that weren't added yet, which is what happens when you come up with a new game plan halfway through a season with a new team. So there was that. I do think part of the reason that we are maybe so good at ball retention is because teams are happy to let us have the ball, because we have the second worst gain line success in the URC. Connacht's weirdly have the worst, but so we're not good at getting over the gain line. And I just, this is a point about ball carriers. Everyone says ball carriers, you just mean someone big. It's not that simple. You've said it before, Matt, agility before contact is something that we need to work on. And by the way, we're not particularly small. People like to think about the Scarlets that we're small. We're not. We're not particularly
comparative.
Small. Yeah.
So with Titcombe, we've agreed was pretty much outstanding when he came on. I thought he was outstanding. I thought Ben Williams had a superb game. Some of his defence was above where I'd expect. There were a couple of bits where
he smoked someone.
He absolutely destroyed the referee. The referee told him to put him down. So
I didn't make a note of who it was against. It was on. I can tell you it was on the 66 minutes, but I can't tell you who it was.
So there was like I said, scrum has improved. You don't feel like we're going to lose the scrum anymore, and you feel like lineouts have improved. And then we get to Martyn. This is the bit where Martyn starts smiling. Ready? Wait, just say it. Say the name. Ready? Tommy. And watch the smile. See this is the smile. See, Mark.
How long? How many months have I said I want to see this boy in the team? I saw a fair bit of what he done with Jersey last year, and Christ in hell, he's needed a proper go. And this wasn't even a proper go. But he bloody managed something.
He is the pace that we've not had on the wing. I didn't realise how quick he was.
He's lightning, like proper. He is, obviously, I can't compare the two. But if we were going to say we had a Rhys Ahmed style speedster in our squad, that is him. And he's not a small boy either.
Who did he smash as well? Someone tried to tackle him and he just
floored him. Fullback came into him. Because he went around the winger fullback came into him.
He left Duan van der Merwe for dead, and then he melted someone.
Yeah, he was a fullback, but he did it a couple of times, and you're not surprised by it, are you, Mark?
Not at all. Not from what I saw of him last season. And there was 3 moments. So there's some debate on this between us, but I've gone back. He came on the field at 49 minutes and 30
He
seconds.
did. Rugby Pass let me down. I apologise on behalf of Rugby Pass.
I'll be honest. All the stats are bloody everywhere, because I've counted at least from these 3 big runs by year in that 30 minutes. That first one, he went. Was it Duan? He went round first time, and then
I think so.
So
he definitely went past Duan at least once.
Yeah, so he's done one of Edinburgh wingers, and he's bounced the fullback to keep going. The next one is him 1-on-1 against Duan, and he turns him inside out, and he pops Combi the ball to walk in a try. I mean, we all know this is a test lion in Duan van der Merwe, and Tommy Lewis made him look like a bloody fool. I mean, you don't often do that. This is the stuff we saw Foxy doing in his younger years. He would turn people inside out for fun, and it's brilliant to watch. And then again, the very last real run of the game, where we said the ball in behind the pod, and because Titcombe was on, that Edinburgh defender wasn't quite as far around to block it off. He had the space. He blitzed around.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
Stepped inside like a treat. Popped the ball off to Gareth Davies. I mean, I think we were really lucky to get a penalty try for this, because I think Gareth was.
I didn't necessarily see the knock on. I think Gareth has just lost it, but
because I was like, I thought Howard probably thought he's been watching a little bit too much of Thomas Williams over the last few weeks, popping the ball out the back, saying, I'm going to try that, and it ended up in a penalty try. I'm not necessarily saying it was or wasn't. I'm happy to take it, but this was all created on Tommy Lewis, and that wasn't it either.
Didn't he get held up over the line as well?
He did.
Yeah, that was.
It was a nice chicken wing from Foxy. Got him over. I was a bit pissed off at the time, because I was like, how have we not scored that, lads? But at the end of the day, we got over the try line.
Yeah, but it was a fraction of a second where the ball ultimately comes in just behind him instead of just in front of him. So either he's overrun it or the pass is slow. Or if he'd have been a bit further out, I reckon Foxy could have scored that himself. I reckon Foxy's gone, the kid's having a stormer. Let him have the ball. So, there was that one that we probably should have scored. Steph Evans' kick in the first half, that instead of going 3 foot in front of Hardy in order to pick up.
Yeah, Dan Davies on his outside.
Yeah, but even if he was going to kick, then put it in a place where Hardy can run onto it and not change and go at a right angle.
I've said my piece on Steph Evans plenty of times. Like, I know, Lee, you're Steph's biggest fan.
No, we've moved our position on Steph just because he keeps doing the same thing with his. I think it's because he's lost an edge of pace, and that step that he used to have is not quite as zippy, so he's not creating the space.
In this game, he got flung into touch. He tried to take someone on the outside, and he's just been ragdolled. So I've got a theory on Steph. Oh no, you go first, and I'll tell you my theory.
Well, no, I was going to say, because he's lost that edge of pace, he gets to that point, and he goes, "My only option here now is to kick."
But I don't entirely think that's right, because last season we saw him play at 13, and he can pass. We know he can pass, and he done it in this game as well. He has the capability to pass. So when he's in those positions, all right, if he's on his own and he's most likely going into touch, okay, maybe I get him kicking. But in that situation, like you said, you had Dan Davies to his left, you had Hardy to his right. He could have passed either way. All right, it might not have ended up in a try, but it would have ended up in a lot better position than
we would have retained the ball, and we'd have been retaining the ball 5 meters from their line.
And they would have had less chance to reform the defence as well.
So my theory on Steph is this. So we know, I've talked about Steph's kicking plenty of times. Steph kicks more than any other winger in the URC, and a lot more. If you look at his kicks per game and his kick meters per game, it's not close. He kicks way more than any other winger. And my theory as to why is I think it's a knock-on of playing Ioan Lloyd at 10. Because Ioan Lloyd goes on his run and he finds himself at the bottom of a ruck, and we need a playmaker. Who's going to be that playmaker in the back line? We haven't got a playmaking 12. And Johnny Williams has been a little bit, but not He's not like a 10 playing at 12. For whatever reason, like Johnny McNichol wasn't really able to be that player, and he's been injured for ages. So I think Steph Evans has been asked. Oh, HI. So I think Steph Evans has been asked to be the playmaker, and that's why he's kicking more and he's distributing more in these things. But it's just not working. He's not able to do it, and this is why, like we said, Lee, it's time that Titcombe was given the 10 jersey and Johan Lloyd was
Yeah,
fullback.
I completely agree. And after that game on Friday, I think Tommy Lewis just ended Steph Evans' career. I genuinely, I cannot see any reason now why you would choose Steph Evans over Tommy.
Might put it back into 13 again. Robert's gone.
I wouldn't even do that.
It depends what happens with George, because George North, because if George North is injured, then Joe Roberts will be playing, obviously, for Wales, presuming Gatland doesn't pick Watkin, which I don't think he will.
Or Grady, because he's picked him as a wing.
Yeah, he's going to put him on the wing. He likes a big winger.
He will. But we might get Joe back for the fallow week game against Munster.
But
by the way, we haven't mentioned it. Joe Roberts was excellent again in this game.
Yes, he was.
This new game plan is getting the best out of him. He got 2 line breaks. He got a try. He's a hell of a player. He's one of my favourite players.
He's such a natural.
He's a natural.
But I think as well, we've got to give credit where credit's due. That, all right, it's not working now, but it's developing, and the coaching team is starting to show what it can do. And they're coming for so much flack, and all sorts of accusations and all this kind of stuff, and you're like, it hasn't got. So it's Peel's 3rd year, isn't it? This will be the end of his 3rd season, and he's worked with essentially 3 different coaching teams.
Yeah,
2 different defence coaches, because we had Hogan from that skills coach from Leinster coming as a defence coach in the first year. So,
and that's what I mean. So sometimes, you look at the best teams and they've got a really stable coaching team behind them. And as a coach, you can then walk onto the park and go, right, okay, we've got 80% of what we want to do sorted. We're probably starting at, we've got 40% of where we needed to be. That's where they probably were at the start of the season. And then they probably went backwards to about 30% as they're starting to change stuff.
Yeah.
And I'd say now we're up to about 50, 60, but those steps forward are making a difference. And I think it'd be very, I'm not convinced overly by Williams, a defence coach, I'll be honest, because I haven't seen us defend consistently the same way game after game after game. It feels like every game has got its own individual defence plan.
Yeah,
and I'm not necessarily convinced
in Claremont,
that's the way.
In Claremont, we were plenty physical enough, but they tore us apart on the halfway line. In this game, we didn't give them a sniff, but then once they got into our 5 metre, they were over.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I'll say about Babs is he has shown, even with us in the back end of last season, he can put a defence together, but we just don't know what he's trying this year. We picked that defence up we had at the back end of last season. The effort in the boys, just the effort to get off the floor and back in the line, it was superb. And that's something that Edinburgh really punished us with. Like, I think Sarah Cox is a really good referee, but she bought everything Edinburgh was selling at this game.
Yeah.
And fair play. I think that's probably the more experience that Edinburgh had in the pack, because they were constantly holding us in, placing the ball into our players, and she was giving it every time.
Yeah, I watched the game back, and there was one in particular I was like...
It was against Craig, I think, the first one, and it was just so blatant. And even with the scrums, you could see Edinburgh wheeling, and she was giving the penalty to them. It's like...
But, we got to be honest with ourselves and go, it weren't great, but we're getting there.
We won the second half.
We certainly did.
Well, we're saying that a lot at the moment, aren't we?
Yeah,
Well,
and
we
I
won
think
a lot of the
that's
Clermont game, and we won the entire second half of this one. So progress.
so. I think that the issue is now the club needs to come out and start talking to fans, and it needs to make an effort to get fans back on side and say, this is what we're doing. Essentially, the second half of the season, we're looking to put the format in place for the following season or whatever. Yeah, and they need to come out. They know by now who is staying at the end of the season, or they should do. Should come out and go, right, we're not playing him and him and him as a starter because they won't be here next year. So we're developing some of the younger players through who will be here next year. Do you know what I mean? So when we go, well, why have we got Lousy on the bench and when we're playing Ben Williams at 6? You go, actually, because Lousy was highly likely, let's be honest, Lousy is highly likely to leave next season, whereas Ben Williams will be here and is actually showing a lot of promise. So we need somebody to come out and have that conversation with supporters on our podcast if you want to, but, have that conversation and have an honest conversation about this is how we're going to play the game for the rest of this season. Because all's not lost. There's 10 games left. Yeah. If we go on a run like we did last year and we win the next 5 or 6, then all of a sudden people start looking at us a bit different.
But people only remember your last game as well. If we win it's 5 of the last 9 games of the season, pick a random number, people will forget about the first half of the season. That's just the way it goes.
We did last year.
Yeah. I just on the young players and things. So to be completely fair and balanced, there was obviously we were giving it the big one on the last pod and things. And when we saw the team sheet for this one, that kind of changed a little bit. So we knew we had to make 4 or 5 changes in this game because of the injuries and suspensions and things we had from the Clermont game. We made 9 changes. And for me, I felt that was a bit too many. Now, Peel in the press conference beforehand was going, well, we got a break after this and some of the boys need a break. And I'm like, well, come on, mate. We don't want to hear about the break before the game. I'd rather hear you going, this is our last chance to make a statement. We really need to target it and things. And like guys like Sam Wainwright, just he can keep playing. Like the other regions are playing the same team week after week after week. We're rotating a lot more than some of the others. And I worry a little bit at the moment that players who play well aren't being rewarded by keeping their place in the team. Archie Hughes being a great example of that.
But then
so I don't know whether they had a tap from the Wales camp and were like, hey, make sure that Gareth and Kieran have a run, yeah, or make sure that Matthias don't injure Matthias, yeah, or something like that. I don't know, but I and we've seen it before with Ben Williams, with Teddy Leatherbarrow, with Cara Tuipulotu to an extent, and Charlie Sitcombe when he played really well against Leinster. They play well, and we all go, they're great. These boys are for the future, and then they're out the team next game. I would like to see them rewarded more with more game time if they play well.
So we're rapidly running out of time, gents, and so we've got no game next. Is it next 2 weeks? I thought it was 1 week, but the boys on Rap were saying it's 2.
I think it's February the 6th.
It's not till the middle of February that we've got a game now.
No, we got the friendly.
Oh, the Exeter game, yeah.
I want to say the 6th, but I don't know where I am in my weeks to really.
Okay.
Positive.
So next week, then we'll do a little bit of a rundown of tables. Where the community tables are. We'll do a little bit more focus on that, and we'll talk about what we hope for and expect from the rest of the season for the Scarlets and how we want to see that working. So if we're done with that, I'm just gonna leave with Martyn. Just doing that, Mark. Go and do that, and then I'll stop the recording just when it's gone. Go on, give it one of them. Give it one of them. Give it. Yeah, baby.
Yeah. We love you all. Good night.
Good night, everyone. Ta-ra.